Welcome back, everybody. It is Tuesday night and time for another episode of Theater and Tech Trends Live. And hey, we're live. And today we have a really good show. We got two folks, two brands, multiple folks that are going to be on and joining us tonight to talk about a bunch of cool things. First segment is going to be Richard Charshan, and he's from Acoustic Smart. Did I say all of that stuff correctly?
Yeah.
Also, has a awesome book out, Home Theaterology, which is also hard to say. And then following up for the second segment, we're going to have RBH Sound, another awesome brand, and it's all home theater tonight. So Richard, welcome to the show. How are you, sir? How are you?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing good.
That's what I like to hear.
Nice to see you, Jiles.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's good to have you back on. You were on, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, something like that.
Yeah,
maybe before
like
Cedia.
Maybe
so.
right before. I think it was right before CD, so it was longer than that, actually.
Yeah. So that would be back maybe August timeframe. Man, time flies when you're having fun, I guess.
It's crazy. Yeah. Building theaters makes the time go by quickly. It's like playing rock and roll keeps you young. The same thing with building theaters.
You know, there are worse things in life to do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So first off, setting the ground rules for everybody out there. Don't be shy. If you have questions, feel free to drop those in the comments. As those come through, we'll take those. I see a bunch of people out there watching already. Say hi. Don't be shy. I know some of you are. But with that, Richard is not shy. And maybe you could, set the foundation for everyone and let people know who you are, kind of what you do, and why they should care about that.
Oh, me? Okay.
Yeah, that's you, man. All you.
Yeah, so I've been designing private cinemas for over almost close to 30 years. I was one of the innovators in the business, and I started with Theo Calmaracas back in the day, working with him, and then eventually going on my own, and then developing my own firm. Because when we first started out, nobody was really doing theaters. Now it's the 1% of the nation, maybe 3% of the nation now, and back then it was the half of the 0.5%. It was like ridiculously difficult. So I developed the company because I came from I had a music background. I've been a musician my whole life, and I knew somebody in the AV world who was doing these theaters, but he never used acoustics. And he would show me these theaters and me working in recording studios and things like that. I'd be like, this is cool, but haven't you ever heard of acoustic treatment? Because, some of the floors, they weren't even carpeted, and there were no soft surfaces on any of the walls.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't an ideal setup. And you can hear, I can hear in my mind what a difference it would have made if we just would have done some acoustics. So we finally had an opportunity one year where he said, look, I have a client. They would like to do some acoustics in their theater. And I thought to myself, all right, this is really cool. I'll show you what I'm talking about. And I kid you not. So when we finished that one room, the first room that we ever did, and I remember they were like Martin Logan something, whatever they were, like
right on
statements or something like that. And because they were electrostatic, the sound goes backwards and then, and then forwards and then expands. So you had to figure out how to tune, how to really tune the room right. So after we were done, I remember sitting there with the client, and we put on back then it was Laserdisc. I don't even think it was DVD back then, because they didn't have DVD.
Mm-hmm.
We were watching some James Taylor concert. And I remember the look on this guy's face, and we were both enthralled. Like, we were both like, I knew that it was going to help, but I didn't think it was going to help this much. And we must have sat there for about an hour and a half listening, and we both had goosebumps. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool, because I come from a world, where I did commercial work and nobody really cared about the end result. They were just like, they just kind of wanted you to hurry up and get it done. Whereas this was really, it's like science and art, and you're creating something that's truly unique. And so anyway, I finished that job, and I came back, and then about a week later, I got my final invoice back and my final payment. And in that was a letter. And in the letter, he said something about nice people doing the job really well, and thank you for exceeding my expectations. And by the way, here's $1,000 bonus on your invoice
That's nice.
for doing the right thing. And I showed it to my father, and I remember, he was like, "This is just, I've never seen something like this. Somebody actually paying you more than what you invoiced for." So, and I was kind of blown away. And I said, maybe more people would find out, would want to do this. And because really there were few and far between. Nobody was really doing a lot of theaters back then. Then I found out about Theo Calamarakis because he was also doing it. He was doing huge projects. And then I brought my one theater to him, and that was kind of like, here's my one theater that we did, and that was kind of how we started the whole thing. And then we got into manufacturing chairs because nobody was really making chairs back then. And with the chairs that were made, the chairs would recline too far, and then it would push everybody closer to the screen. And then nobody knew about the sight lines, which you know about today. So important. You know how many times I'll sell seats to somebody and they didn't do a sightline study, so the second row can't see half the screen, and because the front row is blocking it, or they buy an LED wall, which is a huge thing, and they already pay for the LED wall without doing the sightline study, and they have 3 rows of seats, and only 1 row is optimal. I've seen that a lot.
But before we get done and part ways tonight, I do want to ask one question about seating specifically, and we'll get to that toward the end. But it's going to be around headrest versus no headrest, because that's the big. I don't want to call it.
But we have a seat for that, by the way. So we actually developed it for that, so that it can be audiophile when you want it to be. Then when you want to watch a movie, the headrest pops up and the footrest comes out. Just for that.
See, you're singing my song and talking my language, but we'll get to that. So let's dig a little deep. Well, let me say hi to everybody first. So Mr. Wright is here with us. Welcome. Mr. Haven, hi-fi Haven. How are you, sir? The Ghoul himself in the crowd. Mr. Abominus has joined. So lots of folks out there. Don't be shy to say hi. Ask questions. Richard knows everything about everything, and he really does. It's really cool to have someone with that breadth of understanding and knowledge, because he has done work in big projects, which we'll talk about. But a little bit more about your company. So could you talk about it specifically? Is it like kind of a full service design firm?
We're one of the only companies really in the United States who literally takes the room from the studs out, and we build the entire room. We do the noise isolation. We have acoustical experts. We work with some of the top acousticians in the country to do acoustical analysis on projects, so the rooms sound incredible. That's if it's a 2-inch thick system or more, so we can really get in and hone the low frequencies and get real diffusion. And we also make our own star ceilings in-house. We do our own woodwork in-house. We make our own seating in-house. We never wanted to be this. We were really just, like I said, like an acoustic company. But then what happened was the jobs got more complicated, and we found out the more that we handled, the easier it would be, especially when jobs were far away, because I do jobs all over the country, also jobs internationally. I've done jobs in the south of France, and it's hard to manage when the jobs are so far away. So the more that you handle with your own crews who know your drawings inside and out, because they're technical, it's the most challenging room in the house. It's more technical than a custom kitchen. And in a kitchen, you have all certain things you need to have. When you're opening up the fridge, where's this going to be, and where's that? You have to plan all that stuff out. Your kitchen is planned around all your appliances. In a theater, it's planned around all the AV gear and the screen and the projector. And in our business, you need to understand, sightline studies, throw distance of the projectors, different manufacturers, what kinds of screens. Is it a CinemaScope screen? A lot of people ask me, should I get a 235 screen or should I get a 2.40 screen? What's the difference? Or should I get an LED wall? So you have to know all the different reasons for doing different things, and then how to make it optimal. Should I be doing 3 rows here in a room that really should only have 2 rows and a bar counter? Well, actually, even though we sell the seats, we're not looking to sell anybody. We'd rather actually talk them out of a row and just say, just do these 2 rows. You'll have a much better experience. We're doing just fine, and get the bigger screen. Don't ruin the impact of the experience by doing that.
Yeah.
We're brutally honest in that respect, where we're still passionate about it, and we get it. We're doing this because we want to do it right, and we want to be the best, but also because we know if it's not done right, it's like a bad it's like having a bad burger at at your favorite restaurant, but you paid a fortune for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a reputational thing too, right? I mean, you want to be known as the
Well,
company that does things
well,
right.
every room is a showroom, literally, because in our
Yeah.
business, nobody needs what we do. So when things are bad and times are bad, our business suffers. I remember in 2009, it was like the phones got cut off. It was the craziest thing ever, and it was very, very scary. I mean, COVID definitely helped us because of streaming and everything, but it's been an uphill, like a vertical uphill battle. Some people say they have an uphill battle to start your business. Mine was like on a ski slope going backward.
Yeah, you're just climbing the cliff, right?
Every time I had a break, here's a recession, here's this, here's that, and every job's got challenges. In our business, there's a lot of solutions. You have to find solutions. You're asked, because the jobs we do are very high end. People, uh, it's almost like a puzzle. Like, hey, can you do this? And these are things that have never been done before, and you have to figure out how to do it and think on your feet, and you have to find a solution. Sometimes, you'll have an issue where they have a projector, right?
Hmm.
And they don't want to see the projector in the room,
Right. Yep.
or they don't want to hear the projector. And how do you do it? Because it doesn't work with the throw distance or this or that. And we've done a couple of jobs, actually a lot, in LA for some reason, because the rooms are very long and very deep. And sometimes we'll have a job where we'll actually put the projector like straight up, and then have like
Have a mirror.
a mirror
Yeah.
go up, and then the engine would be outside of the theater. Some companies make that now.
Yeah. Does Christie do that?
That's a digital projection product.
DP. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting actually with their light engine. Very, very unique. And everybody's got their own little tricks of the trade. Christie's got their thing, Barco's got their thing, JVC. So you have to look at all the different types of projectors and figure out what's going to give you that best experience. But there's also every type of projector vents differently. Some vent through the front, and some so you have to know how to how to arrange it, so that you're not overheating the projector. We had one client in particular who met us at Cedia, and he had an amazing like a giant room, and the person who did the theater, first of all, charged them a lot of money for not much of anything,
Mhm.
and he never vented the projector properly, and the room caught fire.
Oh God,
I'm not even joking.
that's horrible.
Yeah. So what happened was the guy's allergic to smoke on top of it. So for 2 years, he cleaned out the room, he aired it out, and they ran to a booth at CD. We had a huge booth at that time, and they were impressed by us. The guy flew us on his plane, and we went out there, and we saw the issue right away and told them what we can do. And not only did we build the job and save the guy probably over $100,000, which a much, much nicer room than what this other guy did, and sounding much, much better. We worked with the AV dealer to actually have the temperature setting of the projector right on his phone.
Nice.
So he could be
Nice.
anywhere and sleep and know that this is the temperature of your projector. You don't have to ever worry about your room catching fire.
Yeah, I can understand that, being a little paranoid. I had a furnace meltdown on me one time, and while it didn't catch on fire, it melted pretty much all the plastic in the room. And ever since then, super paranoid. So I get it.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And this guy had a 200 screen, so it was for us was probably one of the biggest rooms that we've done. It's actually in the book. It kind of looks like almost like a nightclub kind of a thing.
Right
When
on.
you look at it, blue with LED lighting, and it was done in Texas. It was a pretty amazing job. And then we ended up doing another theater for his partner actually.
So I think that's a great segue, since you mentioned the book. And I do want to say hi to some other people here. So we got Soundsmith DJ has joined in. Snow and Okinawa is with us. A bunch of people here. A lot of folks out in the crowd. And we've got Richard with us, a man of mythic proportions when it comes to the home theater custom installation industry. Also now a lauded, accoladed author. of home theater. Can you say it? Theaterology.
Theaterology, just roll off the
Theaterology.
tongue,
It just
theaterology.
rolls.
I'm living in my own home theaterology kind of a thing. That's kind of
So
what I was thinking. Like,
what's the book about? Why would somebody pick this up? Well, I can tell you, if you like home theater, you definitely want to check it out. But
yeah.
what was the reason you made this?
Well, because Theo was not only an inspiration to me, but he came out with 2 books, and it's been 20 years since his book. And I talked to him, and Theo's actually in the book, and we talked about me carrying the torch, making sure that home theater stays valid and people see the importance of putting home theaters in, because it's the ultimate luxury. When a theater is done right, like really done right, it's pure escapism at its best. The suspension of disbelief when you're watching a movie or watching a concert. There's guys who are car guys. There's guys who are this or that.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I think, to me, the theater is that ultimate luxury. So what we noticed a couple of years ago. I mean, that book took me 4 years to make. It was a lot of work. It would be really, uh, I need to like take a break before I even think about doing another one again.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So we were traveling around the United States, seeing architects with dealers and going to jobs, and we found out that a lot of architects and interior designers were not really they were not really tuned in, and there was a disconnect where they were talking clients out of doing theaters because they thought it was passe, and they're like, well, why don't you just get a couch and a big TV? TVs are now 100 inches. You can get a 100-inch TV. But it's not the same experience as being in a movie theater with perfect acoustics and the room closed off and being in your own little bubble, and that's kind of what we deliver on a daily basis, and so I was talking to Theo Calamarakis, and I'm like, we need to do something about this, because if this continues, there won't be any Cedia and there won't be any, home theater, because the architects are the people that create all the specifications for all the houses that are being built, right? So I'm like, and they're doing a disservice to the people who, if they want a theater, they should not be talked out of doing the one, because having a big TV in your living room is not even close to being the same experience. So the idea was to have something that's that will educate people, because there's talk about what is acoustics, what is Cedia, why do we need a Cedia certified person? A lot of people don't even know what that is, and just to educate them. Why is video calibration important? Why is audio calibration important? And I have a lot of friends in the industry for being in this, being in the industry for so long, and they offered to help me out and to give their 2 cents, because when a room is acoustically done correctly, properly calibrated audio and video wise, and all these little things are done, it's like tuning a sports car. The better the engine, the better the ride. With the theater, it's the same thing, man. And yeah, there's plenty of guys who just go in and they get in and get out, and I get that. But with the kind of work that we're doing, it's so precise and so detailed that you really don't want to do that for this kind of work. You want it to be as good as it gets, because people, they deserve that experience. And I've done many theaters over the years, and I was getting frustrated because we'd have a 2.40 screen and they're watching Raiders of the Lost Ark, and there's bars on the top and bottom. The guy never calibrated the video on the projector.
Ooh, right.
So he's not even getting the CinemaScope experience on a CinemaScope screen. It's heartbreaking. I mean, for me, it's heartbreaking, because it's like, that's not cool. And I don't even do audio, and I can't, and I have to be careful, because, I'm not the AV person, and the AV people bring us in a lot of times, and there's a fine line. So I had to call him back, and I'm like, look, man, this guy paid a lot of money. You got to come back. And, oh, I'm kind of big. I'm like, I don't care how busy you are. You got to do this. So the book is to sort of, teach people. So now I have, honestly, when I have somebody coming to do a theater with me, I send them a book, because it gets rid of all the bullshit,
Right.
At least just, it's not a how-to book, but the theaters will get you excited, and you'll understand if you do these things, do a couple of these things, you'll have a much better experience. And that's what we're going for. It's not about the money because we're not making any money on the book at all. Actually, all the money from the book goes towards giving books to architects and interior designers. So they do what? They specify more home theaters, and hopefully they get excited and they inspire others to build more home theaters. And that's why I got involved with you, Jiles, and Youth Man, and all these other guys, because you get it, you understand home theater, you love home theater, you share that same passion, and you know what that is. A lot of people, they don't, but when they go into my theater, like to my showroom, and I have two now in New York, one with all the Grimani speakers, and he came in and he calibrated my theater, and I got him to put the Grimani speakers in my showroom with my rep Dave Selkin, who's an incredible guy, and we have a great showroom there. So they can hear what that difference is, so they can get those goosebumps and see what's possible. Because
that's cool. Yeah,
that's really what the message is. Because a lot of builders build theaters. You can build a theater 20 different ways. A car is a car, but you get a Ferrari or you get a Hyundai. They both drive, but one takes you on a journey in a totally different way.
Yeah, and just so everybody out there watching, if you want to have an opportunity to meet Anthony Grimani, he'll be on the show a number of times this season for his 18 million different companies that he works with. He's got a lot, but he'll be on talking about a bunch of stuff, and I'm excited to have him. And he's another luminary in the field, right?
He's a dear friend and a really talented guy, and I met a lot of acousticians, and I bring him in on every chance I get, knowing that it'll just take us to another level, which is, it takes that smart, that's an acoustic smart to the next phase, which is nice.
Yeah. And so speaking of next level, I always tell everyone that the most important piece of equipment that you can put in any home theater is the seating. Right? Because if you're not comfortable, you're not going to have a good experience. And a chair can impact your experience. And so I wanted to take, just a minute or two here before we're out of time and talk about the raging debate of headrest, no headrest, or a convertible, and what's possible out there, because what's going on with these seats. And so tell us, what's the current thinking out there these days?
Well, look, in the old days, they would say, you can't cover your ears and everything else. But now with Dolby Atmos, you're still getting all the peripheral. In our seats, the ones that we make, we try not to cover the entire back of your head. We try to hit it so the back of it is literally at the base of your neck. It's instead of like here, it's here. The average seat from any manufacturer is probably like 39 inches or 40 inches. If you go lower than that, you won't have any head support, right? So there's two ways of counterbalancing that. One, we actually created a seat. We won an award for at CES. I think we're the only company ever to win an award for a theater seating product. Because exactly what you said, we have audiophiles that didn't want even their shoulders covered, but then when they wanted to watch a movie, it would literally transform like a robot, where the headrest pops up and the footrest comes out, and so you can transform it into a theater seat when you wanted to. So the other thing is, we wanted a zero clearance seat, so when you're in a theater and the guy's reclining in front of you and he's hitting your feet and all that, there's zero, so there's no place to go. It's zero, right? It's like with Spinal Tap, it's 11. You can't go. It goes to 11. So this is, zero clearance is literally zero. And then if you have a bar counter,
so here's some of your stuff that I've got pulled up, and is the transformer the one that you're talking about with the headrest that can kind of pop up, or maybe is it the software?
It is. So if you go to Transformer 1.
Transformer 1. All right, there we go.
So you see the way the headrest pops up?
Yeah, look at that. It folds down behind you.
Correct.
And then you can sit there and have full 360 audiophile sound, right? With nothing. And then when you want to relax, and for me, I have to have some headrest to really relax during a movie. I mean, that's just out. I love that.
Yeah. So there's another one. And then we also make a cinema shades. So if you keep on clicking down, go down, go
There's
down.
Millennium and the Cinema
Yeah.
Chase.
So you
Ari.
can go to, like, the cinema shades, and
Oh, look at that. That is
yeah,
that
check
dude.
out how that opens up. Look at that.
This is cool. There's a whole video of it here.
Yeah, because you have to understand how the mechanisms work, and it's so even if you have a love seat, each person can open up theirs like independently. When she's not dancing, there it is. All right, so you see, so that just a footrest you can do, and still have no, headrest up. And then if you want to do the headrest, you can do that separately by itself. Dual motors, one for each one.
Yeah, that is beautiful. And that form factor is applicable in so many places, right? So for someone who, has a dedicated home theater, but
Yeah,
maybe wants to have a really amazing media room too, and they don't want all the armrests, that would be great. I think that is fully at
yeah,
home in a home theater too,
we
though.
do all that. And then a big thing
Yeah.
now is theater beds. So if you go to the Monroe, they're below. You know,
Oh
um,
yeah.
you can see, you can do a chaise, but actually still motorize the headrest if you want.
Dude, look at that. That is just
And then
gorgeous.
even in the middle, you have no arms. There's a secret sensor where you put your hands in the middle, and you don't have to touch anything. It just senses your fingers,
Really.
and then the bottom, it shows the transformer love seat. So that's you can see the mechanism and how it opens and closes, and see how quick it is. It's a linear motor, so there's no wear and tear on the mech. So the motors last for a very long time, and there's no noise to it. You know,
Do you do a a 4 cushion wide like sofa, reclining sofa like the Transformer?
I can we custom make our own frame. So if I can make a sofa that's 200 feet long, if you wanted to, I can do whatever
Okay,
you
see,
want.
that's so cool.
And I
Because
can go from 21 inches. Like, we don't, I know you work with a lot of distributors, but this is all made to order. So if you need a 22-inch seat or a 30-inch wide seat, I can make you literally whatever you want, like a fine suit. Like, we'll meet a basketball player, which we've have in the past, and we'll literally measure them from tip to toe and get their measurements and create seats just for them.
right on. That's outstanding. Yeah, I love that Transformer love seat. That is cool. But that would be I think that might be my perfect seat for my room. But it has to be big enough for 4 people and each have independent recline and headrest.
Yeah, we can do
But
that.
but just all one piece like that, or it might be sectional. You tack it together and put
Keep,
it down.
keep in
But
mind,
those,
the person in the middle without any arms on a 4-seat sofa,
mhm.
I always say they're the ones who feel like they're being punished if they have no arms, right?
Yeah, correct.
So what you can do is you can get an extra wide, seat for each cushion, and we can do like a removable arm to go in between.
Nice.
So if you have guys in a football game and they don't want to be on a cozy couch,
Yeah, it's you're too close. I'm
create some
touching.
separation. If you're having a fight with your wife, you can put the arms between. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's awesome. And my space is small. I've only got like 130 inches. So we're squeezing the 4 of us in there. Luckily, my kids and my wife are all way smaller than me, so we can make it. But
Yeah.
man,
That's
but
cool.
that's gorgeous. All right, we are getting very close to time here, so we got a minute left. Um, is there anything that you want to leave with everybody out there? Any parting thoughts for them as it relates to home theater?
Uh, yeah, I would just say that home theater is alive and well, and it's the ultimate luxury. And don't let people talk you out of doing a home theater and saying, get that big LED screen and put it in your living room. And what do you need to be in a dark room? It's completely different experience. And if you get the book, go to hometheaterology.com and you go to acousticsmart.com, and you'll see our website with all the cool things that we do. And if you go to acousticsmart.com, there's a link for the book and the website, and there's a lot of cool stuff on both websites, actually. But yeah, I mean, the point that I want to get across is home theater is alive and well, and it's alive and well so much now. And I think the book helped a lot in a lot of ways. And I think you, Giles, and a lot of the other influences out there having this underground movement of people who really love home theater is making my job a little bit easier these days. Because when I first started, everybody thought I was nuts, and now I'm an innovator. But when I first started, it was like, what do I need this acoustic stuff? It was like, it was a real uphill battle, like I said. Now it's all proven. It's all real. It's not so smoke and mirrors anymore. So just, go for it. If you really want to do something great, if you're buying a house, or if you just want to have the ultimate listening room, you want to watch concerts, there's nothing better than watching a concert in your home theater. It's like being at the concert, literally,
Right
and I can give you, if you go to the book, again, I list our favorite demos, and then demos that people in the industry talk about. But I put a bunch of demos that are like secret, hard to find demos that people don't really know about, that truly sound amazing, that can make your system, not the typical Ready Player One and
right, which everybody's heard 8 million times and doesn't sound that good anyway.
Also, A Star Is Born. I'm so tired of that. There's,
I'm with you. I've heard it. So folks that aren't in the industry, and I'm kind of tangential to the industry, but I get to go to all the shows, and I don't demo theaters all the time, have heard that too many times.
Yeah, it's not even fun anymore, and it's like, we don't need to show the same clips every single year. And I was like, this might sound crazy, but one of the things I have in the book is I put on the Beatles' Help, because there's a couple of tracks from that.
Mm-hmm.
All of the music on that, and I put on DVD for a reason. I don't show Blu-ray, because if it sounds great on DVD, just imagine what it's going to sound on Blu-ray in a perfectly tuned room. And you feel like the Beatles are in the recording studio with you, and the mix and the cymbals and the drums. I think the song is called I Need You, which was the George Harrison song. It was one of my favorites. And just the sound of the acoustics and Ringo's drums, and they remixed the whole thing. So it's no longer, here's the drums in one speaker, and it's done really well. And another great example is the Yellow Submarine. I love the Kaleidoscape product, but it's not on Kaleidoscape yet. I keep on telling them, you gotta.
Well, I have them on the show in a few weeks. I'll bring it up and be like, hey.
I brought it up to him just recently. Tell him, say, you got to get they're like, who's running the catalog for the Beatles? I'm like, I don't know.
That's your job to figure out. Well, Richard, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. I look forward to the next time that we're able to get together. I think maybe I'll see you at CEDIA will be the next time. So I look forward to that. And, whenever you have new news, let me know. We'll get you back on the show.
Yeah, we're working on some really cool theaters, man. Some new ones. They didn't make the book because the jobs, sometimes clients take a long time to make a decision. And some of this work, we are going to be sharing it. And I'll make sure that we get you some images, and maybe we can do something like that. And then maybe there'll be room for another book. But we got some crazy stuff coming up that's so cool that I'd love to share it on your
Let's
show.
do it. We'll look forward to it. All right, sir. Take care.
All right.
See you in the next one.
Thank you. All right.
All right, folks. So we are at the halfway point now. One thing I do want to point out is I'm sadly alone today. Don is not here. He's out. He's taking care of some healthcare stuff, and he'll be back as soon as he can. I'm looking forward to that. But we're all sending him our warmest wishes to a speedy recovery, which I'm sure will happen. And we'll have him back as soon as we can. But now we're going to bring back some additional friends. And if you remember, not too long ago, bam! RBH Sound was with us, and they are back today. But not only is it Kenny, we've also got Shane with us. And Shane is the mastermind of everything technical on the back end. He's back there. He's the puppet master with all the strings, and Kenny's the man out front. But today we've got the dynamic duo. Wonder Twin powers can activate, form of, if you guys remember what I'm talking about, that was a good cartoon.
Oh, yes.
Good times. But welcome to the show. Oh, but first off, we have some of my favorite people in the audience. Brolic Media has joined with us. Even Jamie is here with us. We got them all up in the house. Man, this is I love to see all these wonderful people out there with us. And I think I missed C-Big earlier when I was saying hi to everybody. So I apologize for that, C-Big. But all you folks, thank you so much for joining. But back to the topic at hand. Maybe to start off, Kenny, Shane, and we'll start with you, Kenny. let everybody know who you are and what you guys are doing and why they should care.
Yeah. So I'm Kenny. I handle all the sales, and I get to collaborate with Shane a lot on some design work, but ultimately it's gotta pass his quality control.
Right on.
Yeah,
And Shane.
we're a small enough company that everybody here really has an influence on the products that we design and eventually offer for sale. And so Kenny's a real asset to our company for sure. He's been with us, how long?
3
now?
years.
3 years now? Wow.
Time flies.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun. And
It certainly does.
Wonderful having him here. I'm Shane Rich, the technical director for RBH. And yeah, they kind of keep me in the cave back here sometimes, as we call it, where I'm doing testing and but really the R&D work that we do involves everybody in the company. Everybody has some say. We collaborate, we bounce ideas off of each other, and I guess it's my job to make sure it all sounds really good before it goes out the door, but really everybody has a hand in what the products ultimately become and the quality of products that we do. So it's been a real pleasure working here for over 30 years now. And recently, in the last 5 or 6 years, we had ownership of the company change hands when Roger Hassing, the original founder of RBH, sold the company to Todd Stewart, and we've had some really great things happen with our company just in the last few years because of what Todd has brought to the table. So Kenny and I thoroughly enjoy being here, and it's one of those jobs that neither of us really wants to go home at night because we're doing so many fun and interesting things here at the office. But thank you for having us on, Jiles. We greatly appreciate it.
You guys are amazing. I love to have you on. You always have a good story to tell. It's always fun. And Todd, for folks that don't know Todd, he is awesome as well. He is a good dude. I really like him a lot. So talk a little bit about your product portfolio. So just, one of the goals I have here is I really want people to understand what all you do. And you guys do a lot of stuff. And if you don't do it, you can do it if somebody needs you to, which I think is really nice. So you're a speaker company, but it's not like you have 3 products and that's kind of what goes on. You're kind of full service design, build, XYZ, right?
Yep. So we have a big array of anything from integrated to on-wall to freestanding. And then we do a lot of custom work for people who have specific needs, whether they have a speaker that needs to fit a certain space requirement, or they like the aesthetic of a certain speaker and they want to have different looks to the speaker. We'll do a lot of customization because one of the cool things is we're built here in America right next door, and we can basically design. If we can design it, we can build it.
Yeah, and that really has been the history of our company, even going back, like Richard was talking about, Theo Calamaricus. We'd done some products that ended up in some theaters that he was working on back in the day. I mean, we're talking decades ago, but we've always had that bit of a niche to do custom products, but I would say even more so today, we're focusing on that. Yes, we have, of course, a lot of products, as you see on our website.
You have a lot of SKUs.
A lot of SKUs that we do standard, but like Kenny said, absolutely. If there's an integrator that has a need for a speaker that they just don't, there isn't anything quite what they need out there, or they have a specific look or design or fitment issue, whatever it may be, we can do those products, and we've done that for a lot of really high-end integrators in the industry.
That's awesome. Now, the thing I want to focus on with you guys today is really talk about the work that you've been working on and completing in the active DSP and crossover world, and that kind of merges into amplification as well, right? And how that impacts your product design and how that might benefit people out in the world. Because I tell you what, I had the opportunity to come to your showroom factory, and there's a video about that, and I was able to listen to that white pair of speakers that you had them in the demo room, and you were tuning them at that point, and you were able to show me the difference between the passive version and then the active version, right? And it's amazing what that DSP and the FIR filters can do. And I don't think people really understand that, right? And it's not as simple as, okay, you plug them in and there's a crossover and it works. When you move into this more advanced realm of technology, there's a lot of stuff going on. But man, what is this magic voodoo that you have? What are you doing? I mean, it's really nice.
Yeah. So I think we just start with passive. And here's an example of a really high-end passive crossover.
That is humongous, by the way, folks.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, that's for our, our higher end SKU where we want to just extract all the best performance in the analog domain. So this is for really people who already have a bunch of gear, like they've got their Macintosh amplifiers that they spent $10,000 on, that they just need a passive solution. This is kind of the way to go for people in that realm. But if you're just getting started out and you want to, have the best of the best,
or if you want to upgrade, I said it. Everyone, if you want to upgrade, you do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you can sell all your Mac gear or whatever. But yeah,
I didn't say
that. You didn't say it. Yeah. Well, it is interesting. He says it's, this has been the standard and still is for a lot of people. And there's nothing wrong with that. We still make a lot of speakers that have passive crossovers. The vast majority of what we do still has passive crossovers. And so, making those speakers the very best we can is a very important part of business. But like you said, Jiles, things have been evolving, and especially the last few years where we're in a situation now that there are DSP technology on the market. The DSP technology is such that it's just, there's an amazing amount of fidelity and resolution that you can get from a DSP front end. And we're talking about an active crossover that actually goes before the amplification. And then, you split out to a, in most cases, it'll be, or biamp or triamp situation, or even quad amped. So what's so unique about that is that doing that on the front end before the amplification versus having the signal going through the amplifier, being amplified and then going into a crossover and being split up to the drivers, you're first of all eliminating some of the what we'd call necessary compromises that happen when a signal goes through a crossover like this. There's a phase change, for instance, for the drivers. You have a crossover section for tweeter, woofer, mid-range, whatever, and you have a phase change as well as the crossover between drivers and how they integrate, and issues that can crop up due to maybe lower slope or a shallower slope crossover. Now
like
we have a
situation versus 18 or something. Yeah.
Now we have situations where you can be doing a crossover slope of over 100 dB per octave.
It's like this.
Yeah, it's essentially like a brick wall filter. Yeah. And you can do it in the digital domain before you even get to the digital to analog converter. So you're doing that all in the digital domain, very low noise domain, where all these things can happen. And then you throw in things like you mentioned, the FIR filters. So we're using finite impulse response, or FIR filters, for our crossovers. And that means, again, really high filter slope, and also linear phase. So you don't have the phase shift that you typically have in analog crossover. And the other advantage is that now you're going, of course, directly from the in the digital domain, you're taking the separate signals that go to the woofer, mid-range, and tweeter, and you're outputting those through separate DACs. So you have more resolution as far as the digital analog conversion stage, because you're using 3 separate digital to analog converters, one for each separate range of frequencies, tweeter, mid-range, woofer. And then you go directly in to the amplifier, which is driving the speakers directly without having to go through crossover passive crossover components. That gives you increased damping factor, more control with the drivers, less, again, distortion, phase characteristics, issues, and again, but just better integration between the drivers in it. And also, one of the primary benefits with the FIR filters is you get true linear phase or time alignment between all of the drivers in the system, and that can be dialed in even right at the listening position with some of the latest technology that we're using from some of our integrated, or I should say separate processors, DSP processors that we're doing. And it's, it does, like you said, like you experienced here, it's just something that can really take you to another level of fidelity.
It really is. So I want to talk about a little bit of integration for that, right? So I've talked to some people about this, and they've said, well, this is really cool, but what do I do in a system that I've already got? And is it possible to integrate this in? Just say you've got somebody, and to draw a comparison to the system that you've got there. I think you guys are running an altitude 16 on the processing side, or maybe you've upgraded to the 32. I'm not sure, but just say, oh, congratulations on that. That's really cool. Say that you're working in a system where on the processing side, you're kind of maxed out on your channels, right? So, you can't really do any more processing up in there. Is it possible to take your LCR output from that environment with whatever room correction that it's done, pass that into your DSP, and then have that manage, the separation on your left channel, your center channel, and your right channel for all of the crossover and filtering and all that stuff to make it a fully active system? Can you just tack that on to your existing system and take advantage of the benefits?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. So the processor that we use is a 4-channel and 8-channel out. So in many cases, like on the full range towers that you have reviewed for us recently, the SFTRs, oftentimes we'll sell, it's got the top module, which is a 2-way with tweeter mids, and then you got the subwoofer module, and then we integrate a center channel with that as well. So you get the 4 inputs, which is left, center, right subwoofer. So that subwoofer signal can pass to the full range to the towers and get that LFE discrete channel in your home theater processor, and then you've got a brilliant LCR sub situation with the the 4 channels of input and 8 output.
Yeah. So in fact, we have that in our theater here that you experienced, where the front 3 channels, the LCR, were all, at that time connected to an altitude 16 Trinoff. And we had kind of maxed out the channels, and we were, again, just sort of adding on, because with the Trinov and some of the other high-end processors out there, they'll have a digital output. So, you can actually use the digital output stage from an altitude 16 or 32 or Storm audio processor, for instance, and you can go into this and add an additional 8 channels of output.
Double your channel
Yeah,
count, so another 4
essentially.
channels.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 4 channels input, 8 channels of output. Yeah, and so you can, do like we're doing in our theater system, which is our reference level 831 product, which is a 2-way speaker system, and so you have a separate tweeter and midwoofer output stage across your LCR channels. And so, yes, absolutely. That's a good place to start, is the way I put it. I would think I would put it, and that it makes the most impact probably on the front 3 channels. And then, yes, it's fully integrated in with all the rest of the speakers in the system that are passive speakers, and because of what the Trinov is capable of doing,
Right.
With the room correction in the Trinov. So ultimately, we do have some customers that are doing full active speaker crossovers inside the Trinov itself, and
Sure. I've seen that before. Yeah.
And we're in the process of upgrading our system here so that we can do that, with all the channels in our theater system. But to begin with, you could start just with the front 3. If you just have, whether it's you have additional channels in your existing AV processor that you can use, like a Trinov or a Storm, that have the capability of doing multi-way speakers, you can do that, or you can add on one of the digital speaker processors that we can provide.
So, and then for folks that don't, haven't dropped a huge amount of money on their processor, maybe they're running, like a really high-end Marantz or something that doesn't have all of that capability that you find in the Trinov. It sounds like to me, if they could take the analog LCR out, run into your input, right? So that's three in, and then if they were running like your 831s, then you would have your 3 in, that would take 6 outputs, right? So it'd be a tweet and a mid for each of the LCR. Your DSP would manage that, so those outputs would then go into amplification, and then you'd have 6 channels of amplification for that LCR. You could apply all your filtering, and I think that is an amazing upgrade that anyone could do in their system, and they don't have to change any of their processing. Right? It's bolt-on. Bolt-on doesn't sound like a nice term, but it is a in-place upgrade without having to touch your back-end equipment. Man, that's cool.
Correct.
Yeah. One thing I want to add to that is, in a home theater environment, absolutely include one of the sub-channels into the processor, because you've got ultimate flexibility with PEQ and everything that maybe Marantz doesn't have with AutoZ.
Oh, totally.
And so you get that ultimate control with your subwoofer integration, have 2 subwoofer outputs right on that processor. And also another thing I wanted to bring up is you have the option to do analog in or digital in through AES EBU. And so for people who are into like 2-channel hi-fi, you're getting all that wonderful processing, but also flagship Burr Brown DACs in this processor for the output stage. So it's really a state-of-the-art piece of equipment.
Yeah, and that for me, really moving to AES, or it's Dante for people that might not, talk about the kind of the agnostic version of the audio over IP. That, to me, at high end, that's the next step, right? Because everything runs over Ethernet. You can have one cable that comes out of your processor, goes to a switch, and then it goes down to your external DSPs or amplifiers or whatever, and it's just targeted. Now, personally, one day, what I would really like to see is when that all turns into fiber, and maybe we're all doing 100 gig on those links, video runs over that as well.
Yeah.
So there's no more HDMI. right? You
Yeah.
just got 100 gig dedicated fiber connection that runs from your processor into the switch, and then from the switch back out to whatever your display device is, your projector or your LED wall or whatever it might. That's my dream, because I hate HDMI.
Yeah.
Like it.
Feelings mutual.
Yeah, that's the bane of folks. All right. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. Now, if folks wanted to experience this, can they come to Layton, Utah and check it out? And are there other places in the USA where they can experience your flavor of, active speaker, DSP, FIR filters and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. People can come down to Layton to come visit our showroom here. We do have quite a few dealers across the country, namely Florida. Got a new one in Maine that has a fully active front stage. So yeah, just ask us and see if we, have somebody local that you can experience these products.
Now, are you, I think I saw that you were going to be at Expona coming up.
We are.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I'll be there as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazingly awesome that you're going to be there.
Yeah.
So what are you guys going to be doing at Expona?
So we're actually, those white speakers that you fell in love with, we're going to be showing off those. A version of them. They're going to be a little bit more stylistic. I'm excited for you to see them. And then we're going to be showing off kind of a lower budget modular system with just a single tweeter and mid-range bookshelf on top of a dual 8-inch subwoofer. And then we're also going to be showing off our active 81 AX monitors, which can be studio monitors, 2-channel hi-fi, even LCRs. They're that capable, but we're excited to show off those 3 systems.
Yeah. So we'll have several fully active systems and at least one passive speaker system that will be demoing there at Expona. So yeah, definitely come and see what Jiles has been raving about.
I have been raving because it's really good. Everybody should go watch my video where I review the speakers, and then go watch the one where I'm at the factory and get to see everything there. It's really cool stuff. Now we got a couple of questions that I want to throw up. Matt says that he's geeking out on the Tech Talk. I love it. And then Snow, let me see, I didn't read this. This active FIR filter magic, is it something that you can do at RBH then send to clients? Or do you have to tune this on site? This is all done at the speaker level, right? So has nothing to do with the room correction. Is that correct?
Well, yes. What we do here is on the speaker level. So it's all speaker correction essentially. But that being said, on our flagship outboard processor, it does have the capability to do room correction as well. And so, in fact, we were just talking to one of our dealers. It was in Maine.
Your new guys.
East. So yes, we have the ability to do that. It takes one of us right now coming out to do that. We offer that as a service that you can add on to any of those higher end speaker package purchases. We'll be working through the dealer, of course, and training dealers as more of these systems get out in their area and as they're putting them in their showrooms. So yes, you can certainly on the very highest level do not only speaker correction but room correction from the same DSP processor.
That's cool. And then Matthew here has a comment and then a question. So as an integrator, he has extensive experience with AMT not ATMs, AMT technologies, and would love to hear more about that. And then he also says, how do you voice your AMTs? Is it neutral, warm? Can you put an audio file word to that?
Yeah, well, great questions. I mean, it's all relative, I think, to what how you quantify what those terms are. But I'd say relatively neutral sounding speaker systems very linear, very accurate in terms of what you can do with the frequency response. In fact, with a processor like this that has over 4,000 taps available on the FIR filters per channel and a stereo system. And again, for those that don't quite understand that terminology, think of, several decades ago, we had at least back when I was growing up, that was more than several decades. But anyway, 30 band graphic equalizers.
And you got to put the V curve in it.
Yeah. So the problem with those is they added all kinds of noise and other problems, distortions. And so this is like the holy grail of what you can do with that type of EQ process, where you have over 4,000 different points of EQ, and you can not only change the level or magnitude of the sound pressure level of that point, but you can adjust the phase of that point with FIR filtering. And so you can really linearize your speaker system to within, plus or minus half a dB if you want to. And, we're not talking about necessarily just a flat line, because they're target curves that you typically want to have in terms of what the sound pressure level or frequency response looks like in a room. But if you wanted a flat line, you could have it. I'm just not saying that's what sounds best in a room. So really, with this kind of power, you can essentially dial the system into however you like it, truth be told. And we have essentially presets or settings that the speaker system comes out of the factory with, as far as the calibration of the speaker itself. But then again, on the highest level, we can actually do in-room calibration or specific calibration for your room to get the frequency response at the listening position, essentially taking the room out of the equation to give you real accurate linearity right at a listening position, which is not only great for home theater use, but hi-fi use, 2-channel use. That's where I think it shows itself off actually the most. I think Kenny probably agreed too. And so that it's really exciting to be able to be doing products in this realm, because every time we take a listen to them, it's like, wow, wow. It
is wow. So let me say something, and I want you to tell me if what I say tracks truthfully is kind of right. So when you're in 2-channel world, so let's step soundly into audiophile 2-channel world, right? The old school, you would go and companies would have built speakers, right? And usually you have some number of drivers, and inside there's crossovers, right? And then you're going to have a channel of amplification that gets split up and sent to all the drivers, or maybe you're going to multi-amp or something, right? But the power's feeding is still going through the crossover network, and then that speaker is going to have a sound. It sounds however it sounds. So maybe it's a bright speaker, and so like from 5,000 up or something, it's like 3 decibels higher than what most other speakers would sound on. You just be like, oh, that's really forward or bright. Or maybe it's the curve gave it a lot more bass. You say, oh, those are bottom heavy speakers, or whatever, bloated or so. But nowadays, with this type of technology, the speakers will be whatever they are, but you can control the sound that they make to a certain degree with the technology. So you're not stuck with whatever is in the box. Is that correct? You can really make these things be brighter or darker or deeper, however you want to. You can whatever words you want to throw at it. You have that capability now with 4,000 independent points of EQ and FIR filter to do whatever you want to, right?
Correct. Yep, that is the case. And so kind of going back to the question about the AMT, yes, you want to start off with great drivers initially. Of course, the air motion transformer we have in our reference and unrivaled type products is really accurate, neutral, linear on its own. But yeah, there are things when you put it in an enclosure, mating it up with the mid-range and the woofers, and getting everything correctly time aligned. So it honestly isn't that much in terms of frequency response equalization that has to happen on our end. There is an FIR filter that we do add in, and you can use it or not. You can have the natural response of the drivers, or you can have the essentially EQ'd response with the FIR filter in place. But maybe even more so than just the how it affects the frequency response, and in getting a tighter frequency response spec, like I said, even down to plus or minus a half a dB, is the time in the time domain. What happens with the speaker, where you look at the impulse response and the step response in specific, and you see how that impulse from all the drivers is stacked right on top of each other. There's just this immediacy that is essentially what that translates to, is this immediacy of sound. Everything's just right on point, so to speak.
We have to come up with the language to describe it. It's something better heard than talked about, honestly.
Yeah, you got to. It's true. You really have to hear it to understand it. And there are other speaker products out there that are linear phase that maybe people have heard. One of the aspects I've always liked of electrostatic speakers, their linear phase characteristics. Well, this is taking essentially what you can get in a electrostat, but with some of the advantages of dynamic drivers, and still getting that type of initial snap and clarity of response that you might find in some planar drivers like electrostats.
Right on. Now we're gonna plow through a couple more questions here, and I missed this one before. So Jamie says, I know your towers are known for bass reproduction. Do you manage or manufacture in-wall speakers that have prodigious bass, not regular bass?
Yes. Yes, we certainly do. We've got everything from single 12-inch drivers that fit in a stud bay, all the way up to a dual 12 with our reference drivers in a 9-inch deep cabinet. So yeah, you need to build a baffle wall for it, but very clean sound quality. And if you want to even build an even bigger baffle wall, we can do even our 21-inch in a 15-inch deep space. So we've got options.
Who would want to do a 21-inch speaker? Oh my goodness. So I don't know if you can talk about this right now, but there's like big stuff in the future, right? Is that a topic for today or not? I don't know.
You can hint at it.
Okay. I won't say anything else. You can hint at what you want to hint, and then I'll move on.
All right. Well, cool thing is RBH is turning 50 years old next year, and we've got some exciting products in the works.
Yep. There we go. And
bigger and even better.
Oh yeah.
and let me tell you what, guys, I've seen behind the curtain just a little bit, and I tell you what, I get the heart palpitations. Oh my goodness. Oh, so it's so good. Okay, now here's a question that I think a lot of people might have, right? Because it's, when you start thinking about what all you can do with the speakers and how that interacts with the room, does that get to the point where it diminishes the need for acoustic treatment of the room? Because you start getting the stuff like slap echo and all this kind of stuff. Can this help that at all? I would say treating the room is still super important, but
correct. It is. Yeah. There's no question about it. Yeah, there's some things you can do in the phase domain to essentially counter some room mode issues especially with multiple subs in the room. But no, honestly, if you really want to get the best sound, you're still going to have some treatment in the room. That being said, a lot of the rooms that speakers seem to go into are relatively sparsely treated. So if there just isn't the capability of doing treatment in the room, well, you're still going to get better overall sound and clarity of the system with what we're doing. It's in some of the most advanced technology that we're doing, but it's always good to have acoustic treatment in the room. Yeah. No question about it.
I would say it's like Band-Aid rather than the cure. Because like, let's just say you got a really harsh frequency that's lingering in the room due to, acoustics. You can help tame it so it's less potent with the active technology, but it's not going to get rid of that echo.
Right on. Yeah. And getting rid of echo, that's the first thing. I mean, I remember even in my little room, right, which is mostly DIY, and I am not a professional acoustician by any stretch of the imagination, but I can tell you what, just by slapping up a bunch of absorption, night and day difference. Yeah. I mean, it gives you that platform that you can build inside of. And when you have real pros that know what they're doing, come in and design, put that stuff in, man, you have a base to build your system in it just takes it next level.
Right? For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love it. I love it. All right. We are past time. So RBH, thank you guys so much for hanging out longer than expected. I know it's late. No, man, this is my pleasure. I love this. This is awesome. Any final closing thoughts for the folks out there? Put you on the spot.
No, we're just happy to be here, and we love what we do. And like, give us a call if you have any questions, because we're eager and awaiting. We want to help you achieve your home theater or hi-fi dream.
Yeah, and if you have a chance, come see us at Axpona. We'll see you there, Jiles, I presume.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, it'll be an opportunity for people that not only to hear our product, of course, but to hear a lot of great products that are out there and see how our product compares. I think a lot of people will be favorably impressed with what they experience. So come hear us at Axpona, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. Well, thank you. For everybody that's watching, we're going to go ahead and close the show out. Next week, we have a room calibration panel discussion. So if you want a little bit more of kind of what we were talking about, we're going to have Anthony Grimani on from Grimani Systems. We're going to have Tim Bro from that corporation, and they build purpose-built room DSP for all kinds of devices. Also, Richard Henthorn from Indie Audio Labs. They do Accuracy and Ergon. So we'll be talking about that technology with those folks. And I'll be back again, and maybe Don, maybe not. I'm not sure. We'll see how things go. But other than that, again, RBH guys, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody in the audience, thank you. Everybody's time is precious. Thanks for spending it with us. And we'll see you guys next week. Take care.